All right. Now, since we are going to get a single directory, we need to pass an identifier for that directory. An identifier, we need to pass that to the backend. So the backend can help us get a single directory from the database. Now, the identifier that we need to pass to these endpoints is going to be the ID. Now, if you remember, in the data model that we created, the ID column, it's something that is automatically created, and the items in the ID columns are automatically imputed by the database. This is to ensure that every row that we create in the database is unique. So it uniquely identifies every record in the database. Now, in order to get a single item from the database, we need to pass the identifier. And so we need to tell the backend action that it's going to need an identifier in order to get a single item from the database. Now, in order to do this, we're going to have to create a query variable. What is a query variable? A query variable is a variable that is passed from the front end into the backend. Now, since the ID parameter that we have in database is of the data type number, the query variable needs to be of data type number, so they need to match. So the kind of query variable that we need is a number query variable. Let's call it ID, and the name ID. Then we click the save button. And now we need to build the code again, and it's just going to take a few seconds. All right. So now that the code has been built, we can now go ahead and test the Get Directory back in action. So in order to test this, we're going to click the button Run Action. And then for the query variable, we're going to use, let's try and get the first item from the database. So the first item usually has the ID of 1. And then we're going to click the Run button on the bottom right hand corner of your screen. As you can see, we're able to get a single item from the database. Now that we have accomplished the backend part of the application, we now have to move over to the user-facing side of the application. You can do this by simply just clicking this button on your screen, and then you'll be able to get to this page. Dittofi provides a lot of flexibility when it comes to building user interfaces, and in addition, presents tools called component libraries that are very simple to use and helps boost development speed exponentially. I'm going to show you how to install a component library and use it to satisfy our needs. All right, so this is how it's done. So you go to the Elements section of the page, then you click on More, and then you click on Install Library. Now, for the purpose of our application, we're going to install a marketplace component library. So you go to the Marketplace Components button, click on Install, and then we click on the card Marketplace Components. And then, since we're building the directory listings, we're going to drag this onto the screen. Right. So as you can see, we already have a setup for what we need for our listings application. All right, now that our code has been built, we can now showcase our app to the world. And how do we do this? We simply click the preview button. So with this link, you can share this link to your family, to your friends, and they can see what you've built. So we're going to just wait patiently. And now we can see we have Get Directories. Then we have the information that we have in the database. We have it showing here. So we have the Sofa Lounge, Caribbean Lounge, Millennium Park, and all. All right. All right. So now I'm going to show you how to connect the front-end parts of the application to the backend. We want a way to have the information that we have in the database to be shown in the front end, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Now, if you remember correctly, we created 12 different directory listings. So we want 12 different listings to be shown in this table. In order to do this, we need to have one row in this table. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the 2 other rows. So let me show you how to do this. So you select a row. So right now we selected the table cell. So we're going to come here and select table row. And then we click the delete button on our keyboard. We do the same thing again. There. Now, so we're going to remove some of the items that we don't need. So we don't need to showcase the price. Don't have anything to do with that. And then, yeah, we need this gone. Then we're going to change this to address. All right, so now we're going to select this row. I want this row to repeat 12 times. And how do we do this? We come over here and we select the plus button in the repeating with section. Then we go to backend action. Then we select Get Directories. And as you can see, the row is going to change. The border of the row is going to change color. And this is telling Dittofi that we want this row to repeat 12 times and we want it to be connected to the backend action, Get Directories. So how this is going to work is when the user comes to your page for the first time, the backend action is going to be called and it's going to trigger the endpoint to get information from the database. So it's going to fetch the entire list of rows from the database and showcase it here in the table. So now for each row in the database, we want to be able to select the category, the name, the address, and also the image. So we can showcase those items in each row in the table. Now, how do we do this? So let's start with the name. So we want the name of the directory listing, Blue Cubana, for example, to be shown in this span. So we select the span and then we select use data from. Then we go to rows and then we click name. We do the same thing for category, rows, then we click category. Do the same thing for address. Use data from, rows, address. And then for the image, now this is very interesting. I'm going to show you how to add an image to this row. So we click on the Elements tab. Then we click on Elements. Then we search for image. Then we drag the image. We want the image to be here. So we're going to remove this div block. So we click on the div and we select delete. Then now for this image, we're going to do the same thing. We go to use data from, rows, then you select image, as you can see. Now we don't want, since we are not very sure about the sizes of images in our database, since we just picked random images from Google. So we want to give this image a fixed width. So we're going to make it want to give this image a fixed width of 100%, so it doesn't go larger than the table cell. So it's just going to try to fit itself in the table cell. So what we do is we click on the image, then we click on this paintbrush icon. We select sizing, then we want it 100%. So we'll give it a width of 100%. And that's it. So that's it. So now we're going to go ahead and make some very simple changes. So we don't want this here, so we're going to delete this. We don't want this. Delete. Let's add a heading. We'll drag the heading here. And we'll call this Aperture Directories. We can also change the fonts of the entire application. So we're going to click the body element. Then we select typography, fonts, and then open sign. As you can see, the font style of the entire page has changed. We can change this as well. So of Dittofi University and Aperture Directory. And that's it. Then we click on build code, and then we'll wait a few minutes. All right, so now that we're done with this page, we want to create a new page where we can showcase more information about our listings. So we're going to go to the pages button on the top left hand corner of your screen, then click on new page, select the empty templates, and click on create page. Now in this page, I'm going to be a little bit more flexible. What I mean by this is that I'm not going to use any pre-built component. This is to show you how powerful Dittofi can be. Now, I'm going to rename this page and call it directory. And then the path to this page, call it directory. And then we're going to add a page variable. So we're going to add a query variable. We'll give it a name ID. And we'll give it the data type will be a number. And click the save button. Now the essence is, in order for us to be able to get a particular directory listing from the database, we need to pass an ID. Now the home page is going to send the ID of a listing to this page. And in this page, we grab the ID from the query variable. A query variable is simply a variable in the URL. Let me give you an example of a variable in the URL. We can simply add a question mark, ID is equals to 1. So this is how it's going to look like when we build our platform and we're moving from the home page to the directory page. So we simply grab the query variable called ID, grab the value of the variable. So then we click the save button. Now this is saved. Now, as I said earlier, I'm going to be a lot more flexible. It would be nice to have a good introduction to HTML. A very good website to get this resource is called W3 Schools. And in W3 Schools, you can get a good introduction, a good understanding of HTML. I think all you need to do is to read the homepage, the introduction, and HTML basic, HTML elements, and that will be fine for you to be able to use Dittofi and be a lot more flexible with Dittofi. So in HTML, there's an element called a div block. A div block is simply a container element. It allows you to put a lot of information inside it. So I'm going to add a div block to this page. The reason I'm using a div block is because I want to have the navigation bar that we created in the home page, as well as the image of the listing to be in this page as well. So I want to be able to organize the top section of the page very well. So we're going to have a div block, and then we're going to copy the navigation bar that we created in the home page and add it into the div block. So this is how it's done. We come here, we select the div. Go ahead, we say we want to actually get the div block for the navigation bar. All right, so I think we got it. So this is it. Then we click on copy. Then we go to the directory page, select the div, and we click on paste inside. And here we have it. Easy. Then we find an image elements, paste it here, copy it, or we cut it, then we paste it inside our div block. Select div block, paste inside. Yep. Now we want the image of the directory listing to span the entire width of the page. This is how it's done. We simply use the tool that Dittofi gives us here. We want to make it to fill the 100% of the page. So write 100%. I want to reduce the height a little bit. Give it pixel. So I want to reduce the height, give it a 500 pixel height. And so we have the image here. Now I want to have other information like the name and the address to showcase in this page as well. So we can grab another element called the container element. We can put it in the page. Then we can have heading. So this heading is going to be the name of the directory. We can paste it inside the container elements. We can reduce the font size of the heading. You can simply click on the settings icon and then reduce it to like H4. Then we also want to have the description of the listing to showcase in this page as well. So we're going to find rich text. We're going to paste it in the container elements. Yep. And so we have it here. All right. Let's have the address as well. So find another heading. Paste it outside. Let's give some spacing between the container elements and the body. So let's add some margin. Let's add, let's say 50 pixel margin. Going to the bottom of the elements, so we can have it here. Now we can add the heading. Have it here. Good. You can copy this, or you can cut it. You can paste it in our container element. Click on container, and Ctrl V. Yep. You can call it address. You can also reduce the size. You can also click this, and you can reduce the size to H4. Yes, save it. Then we want to have the address. Let's say keep paragraph. Add it. So copy the paragraph, cut it, and then we paste it inside the container element as well. All right. So let me show you how to get a single information from the directory listing and showcase it in this page.